Welcome to the Fashion Insiders podcast. This is your source for straight-talking, no-fluff fashion business conversations that add real value to the way passionate fashion entrepreneurs live, work, and thrive. Having the courage to start your own fashion brand and business, design, develop, and manufacture your products can be a tough and lonely process. It may not be easy, but it can be simple. I'm your host, Dessy, and I'm here to show you how to optimize your performance as a fashion entrepreneur and brand owner so that you can launch and grow a fashion business that is profit-rich, efficient, and can scale online and offline. And when done right, it allows you to generate a real tangible wealth for yourself and others. Let's go. Hi, Karolina.
Hello.
We meet again.
Yes. Always nice to chat.
Yes. So listen, it's the first few days of 2022. And I thought you're actually the first guest to join us for a second time on the show.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yes.
I'm honored.
You are the principal founder of Studio Estila. Last time when you joined us, we focused more on your magazine because you're also the editor and founder of a bookazine called Estila, and you feature, it's an independent magazine, and you feature a lot of interior lifestyle, fashion brands, etc. But the main core of your business actually is Studio Estila, right? Which is, what is it? Tell us a little bit more about Studio Estila.
So Studio Estila started really out of the need while I was editing the magazine, and because of my previous business experiences, people started to ask whether I could help them with their business side. So it's a consultancy where we help independent lifestyle brands with their storytelling and experiential strategies. So we focus on the communication side of things, on consumer behavior, customer targeting, and mainly designing strategies in terms of customer experience online and offline, and mapping out different journeys. So that's what we specialize in. Part of the services is obviously website design, digital assets, photography assets, all of the storytelling elements which we develop within the strategy, and then also collaborations and the growth aspect of business.
I couldn't think of anyone better to chat about 2022 and what that would mean for creative entrepreneurs, creative businesses, the fashion industry, etc. So what do you think?
Well, let's be realistic. On one hand, there are great opportunities, but on the other hand, there's going to be lots of changes happening and lots of challenges being thrown, especially on small independent brands. And obviously, everybody's very involved in the day-to-day business. So it's always good to have some kind of indication of what's coming. So it's always better to be prepared for the unexpected than being hit by this massive challenge, which is going to throw a curveball into the business.
So what is it that you talk to your clients? How are you going to maneuver, let's say, this coming year in order to ensure that they not only survive, but perhaps even grow their businesses? What are the challenges you envisage and how would you tackle them?
So the first thing, obviously each business has a different model, different customer base and different story. But what we see as we analyze trends is that there's going to be challenges in e-commerce as consumers are obviously buying differently, and they're using mobile more, and when they go on a website, they want to see different things than just a shop. So one of the key challenges will be actually that there might be a lower demand for certain product categories, and therefore it will be more important for the businesses to grab the people they are already on their website, or building those relationships with customers who already purchased with them before, rather than keep pushing and keep spending money on new customer acquisition. So that's just a little bit of warning for certain types of businesses, especially in retail and D2C companies, that there might be a slowdown for the demand for their type of product. And so what we do a lot, we've started to do it since the last 2 quarters of last year, is that we've been designing customer journeys from the point where people land on a website as a go-to shopping destination, and then we design the journeys from that point onwards, whether they buy or not, whether they put something in their basket but then they don't complete the full checkout process. So there are loads of different ways how you can encourage people to come back to the website through email marketing, newsletters, and also having those storytelling strategies to really nurture those kind of relationships.
Mm-hmm. So, you're saying that this year there would be less demand or less purchasing by customers. Is it because, in your opinion, because of the economic downturn that we're going to experience and seeing already take place, or because of the end of pandemic and the change of consumer behavior?
It's a bit of everything, because consumer behavior is changing all the time. As new generations come into the purchasing power, they obviously influence how everybody else shop and how they behave. And then it depends on the size of those groups as well. So that's one thing. But there is a lot of changes happening in terms of increasing costs for businesses. So from national insurance, if you have brick and mortar, you have
business rates,
you have increases in energy bills. So it's not only on the consumer side where everything is being more expensive, from food, petrol, utility bills and all of that, but also on the business side of things. So eventually you will have to increase prices, and that might be a barrier for certain type of the customer profile you already have.
Yeah.
So it's a mixture of loads of different things happening at the same time. And it's really about understanding the mechanisms of your market, what customer demands, where they put their money and what they're willing to spend it on, and really adjust your product offering or practices or systems within the business so you can accommodate and really benefit from that kind of demand. So for us, it's about constant analyzing of these different, like SWOT analysis, really. It's about what the business is good at, where are the weaknesses, what is the threat coming from externally from the market, and where are also the opportunities.
It sounds like with the price increases that businesses will have to implement because of everything else rising, it sounds like that positioning, the positioning for a lot of brands will be challenged because there might be some shift in positioning. And
Yes.
when you shift positioning with that, you have to then again reevaluate your ideal customer, your target market, everything,
Yeah.
your competitor landscape. It sounds like it's almost like going back to square one in some ways.
But that's a normal cycle of business. You have to keep evolving and adjusting according to the environment you're trading in. One of the biggest things we are looking at, for example, is in terms of communication, we're creating plans for our clients to communicate these changes in terms of price increase. Why do they increase prices? Why, there is a different now position, and why some customers won't be able to afford it anymore. So how do we best communicate that kind of change?
So how do you best communicate? Because that's a tough message to pass on. I imagine that most small brands would be scared to communicate about the price increase.
I think consumers and modern customers now really appreciate and value transparency and honesty. So obviously you have to be very tactful, and it's a fine balance between we have to be honest, but on the other hand, not to give away too much in terms of when other competitors might see what you're doing. So not to give out all the secrets, but yet be transparent and clear to the customer, so they can actually understand the whole situation and the price increase is justified. So there are lots of angles and stories which you can create, but it depends on the business itself, where what product category they offer, what positioning they are at right now, where they need to be, and then understanding the psychology of the customer and how best to approach that kind of communication and start feeding that message out into the market, and be as open as and honest as you can be as a business.
But do you think that they should consistently, for a period of time, repeatedly communicate these price increases, or kind of do almost like a email blast, our prices are rising, and then forget about it? Because you've mentioned it, like you've ticked that box. What would be the best approach?
Yes, so you have different things. You can do a one email. So if you have a wholesale business, one of the hardest things actually is to communicate that price increase to trade customers, because for them, their margins might be obviously different. So there will be some resistance. And sometimes from experience, being in retail and wholesale, I used to find those customers more challenging, and therefore there was a lot more conversation with them, rather than when you look at the end customer and you just say, we increasing all our prices by 5% or 10%, and we giving you some certain runway, so let's say 8 weeks or 6 weeks, so it's not a blow, and most people take it on board. And then you can implement some sales strategies to ease that kind of transition, again, which is part of the bigger strategy, the bigger plan. But on the wholesale side, there needs to be more communication created, because some retailers or stockists will take it very easily all they do, they just pass it on to the customer, and others might think, how come is this so high? What's going on? And they will need to understand why you're doing it. So you will need to perhaps have phone call conversations or go and visit them and meet them to actually explain why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I guess the only saving grace in this situation is that the increase across all utilities is on a global scale. So you really need to live in a cave not to know what's happening around you, the fact that all bills are escalating.
Yes, that's the good thing about this situation we're living through at the moment, because everybody's almost in the same boat. So they're probably going to be more understanding from that point of view. Yeah.
So I want to shift gear a little bit, and I want to go into a topic that is very close to you, collaborations. So you were one of the pioneers, perhaps, of the idea of collaboration as a growth strategy for brands. I mean, you started working on collaborations and sort of encouraging people to do that within your community and your client base way before the pandemic. And then when the pandemic came and everyone was limited through lockdowns, the supply chain collapsed, etc., you even more doubled down on that idea. And I think this coming year, with all the challenges that this year will bring, it seems like, again, collaborations is a natural growth strategy that is available to everyone and anyone. And particularly if they would have to readjust their brand positioning on the market.
Yes. In that instance, collaboration is a great part of strategy, the overall strategy to have, especially collaborations has been around for a long time. I still am sometimes surprised that collaborations are now like a hot thing. For me, I've always been involved, in collaborations since 2005-6, where we had our own business. So maybe at the time it wasn't seen as a strategy, but I was involved in that, and I was always thinking, who can help me, what can we do? And I was always thinking about the customer, what kind of experience they will want to see from us. So approaching one of our retailers to do our open day was to me a normal thing. So now fast forward to today, there are loads of opportunities, especially for small businesses, to work together, because I see especially the creative independent brands kind of landscape is very fragmented. But I see that through collaborations, businesses can help one another to get through some tough times or even grow. And having that visibility and exposure and a revenue channel in a different market. So that's what collaboration can do to a business. And really what I try to encourage is cross collaborations. That's why our community on the Estilam Bookazine side, or the club we're going to have, or even like on Instagram, where I encourage collaborations, is those collaborations which are non-competitive in terms of the parties involved. So that's why we have the fashion brands working with artists working with furniture brands and so on. And I heavily encourage that, because there's no thread, there's only win-win situations, and there's only benefits to both. If the collaborations is executed and understood by both parties as it should be, and there's an equal partnership, so then nobody can really lose out. It's all about reaching new audiences, new people, having perhaps visibility through retail space. So that's what I see is is that it's only a collaboration is about helping one another to really grow.
Yeah. So through your clients, because I think a lot of people talk about collaborations, but what's different for you is that you actually actively get stuck in helping your clients find collaborations that are the right fit, and you're actively involved in making sure that these collaborations work. So from your experience, what are some recipes for disaster or success in terms of collaboration?
I think that the recipe for disaster is lack of understanding of the customer, of the targeted customer. So I've seen loads of collaborations happening, and it's all nice. As I said, you can't lose out. But on the other hand, you can feel disappointed if you miss the mark on the actual offering. So, you know, the disaster part is that you come together, two parties come together, create something amazing, but yet it doesn't resonate with the targeted audience or the customer base. So really, there is quite a lot of work involved in terms of coming up with the idea for a collaboration or that project or the product, because you really have to understand whether the customer will want it or not. It's simple as that. Is there a demand for it? And the best scenario is that you increase in sales, you attract press features, you know, there's a buzz around both brands. There's a buzz around the project or the product offering. So that's what you're really aiming for. And before you approach the other party, before I even get the idea, I do a lot of research to find if there's actually a gap in the market for it. And that's how it starts.
How do you do the gap in the market research?
I study lots of reports in retail and in customer experience. So those are my two topics, which I feed myself with every day. So I can feel the mood in the market, in that specific market, especially the lifestyle sector, the furniture, interiors, small independent fashion brands, what's going on there, and whether there's a potential to deliver something to the customer which they don't expect or they want. So I look at loads of case studies that worked. I regularly look at case studies that don't work or they didn't work, even though the product was amazing. So you have to do quite a lot of analysis based on experience and really work out the hidden messages you get and read between the lines. That's what I do all the time. I go like, oh, this worked, but why? Because normally when you look at these reports or case studies, they don't say that, but you can analyze it and work out why it worked or why it didn't work. So I do that all the time. It's not easy to do. And also understand the psyche of customer and psyche of people. You know, I've always been around people.
Yeah.
And since I was, you know, in my teens, I was on trade shows talking to, you know, customers, and that's, you know, ongoing. So I can sort of read people well, and I can read these hidden messages that help me to put all the puzzle together.
Yeah. So, you know, in fashion, we have seen the concept of collaboration was really popularized by H&M and many collaborations they did with big designers. And it's almost like you had this fusion between high fashion and fast fashion. And it had a mass appeal because everyone aspired to be able to shop these famous names. So there was the appeal. Is this collaboration sort of a little bit, it works for H&M because it's, despite the fact that they're two different ends of the spectrum, they are big businesses collaborating with each other, but on a smaller level, because our audience is small designer brands, independent brands, etc. What type of collaboration would work for them?
I think you can, there are a few case studies where small independent brands work on projects with high street brands, and you can see that it helped that business, that small business, to have funds to reinvest in, on, for example, or for a new collection or the whole growth stage. But the examples you just gave, it's more about where legacy and luxury brands have built up a very strong reputation and positioning in that market, and they, in exchange really for partnering with a high street brand, they got massive exposure and new customer base to the lower end of the market. So that was the win-win for both, because obviously being associated to a high-end luxury, well-positioned, well-respected and reputable brand, H&M probably, their reputation also increased. So when you take this kind of concept and you apply it to a small business, you have to approach it completely from a different angle. And the strongest advantage of being associated with, for example, a high street name to a small independent, small team-based business, that's a good thing, because your positioning is stronger, your reputation increases, your trust, loyalty, customer loyalty, obviously, the whole messaging and signaling about your brand into the market, being associated with somebody who is, on the high street and is well respected, obviously it does affect your business in a very positive way. So I wouldn't when I approach collaborations, I have a list, I have a target list or hit list, and we do include, bigger businesses or high street businesses in that list. It's a matter of analyzing whether they are aligned to our values and what the other benefits could be potentially, apart from sales or visibility or exposure. So I wouldn't shy away from it, but obviously it would depend on the product pitch or the project pitch. And again, it's about understanding their customer base and what they're probably not delivering, and what you as a small guy can deliver or can supply to them. So it reinforces that relationship between that bigger brand and their customer base. So yes, we have those on our list, but we also have different other businesses who can help us execute this kind of collaboration or idea. So we have cross collaborations where small businesses help one another. And sometimes you can have a whole plan, which can be between 1 and 3 years, just based on collaborations. So you can start collaborating in year 1 with somebody who's similar size of your business. They are in a similar position, they have similar audiences and all that. And then once you execute that, you can step it up each year. So that's why collaborations are quite slow in a way, because one project can take a whole year for you. So I wouldn't necessarily rush into, and start collaborating meaninglessly this year. It has to be thought out, and it has to be integrated into your marketing and sales strategies as well as PR. So it has to sit within your ecosystem.
Yeah. So you answered a lot of my questions in what you just said. I was going to say, if you're a small brand wanting to collaborate with a bigger brand, there's way more smaller brands than bigger brands to pick from. So it's not an easy idea to execute. So, but you said that you can look at collaboration as a longer term strategy and work your way up. So start with someone similar size to you, and then little by little work your way up. So that's great. Now, you mentioned that collaborations have to be strategic, and they take, and they have to be planned for, and it takes time to execute. But given the environment of this year and how everyone has to think creatively in order to survive and generate more sales, etc., and the fact we said that collaborations is a good way to survive the year, what kind of is there any quick collaborations people can organize that can happen this year? They can just listen to this podcast, sit and brainstorm, approach someone and execute within this year and help themselves, rather than sit and plan for next year, because next year might be too late.
So from top of my head, I can think of two ways. Well, there are loads more, but okay, so let's start from the easiest one. Yeah. So one of them, which is very easy to do, is to partner with fellow small other businesses who have other product categories. So you don't compete directly, and you can create a nice giveaway for social media campaign. So you can have a hamper or a really nice looking basket or something like that, delivering the unpacking experience to the winner, and you partner with 2 to 3 brands. Sometimes you see up to 5, and you give away this prize in exchange for collecting email addresses of the potential customers who really love all of the products. So it has to be specially curated. There can't be sort of one product better than the other, and one priced at the high end of the spectrum and one priced at the low kind of spectrum. It's about creating products which complement your own product and have the same audience, have the same customer as you. So if somebody is for example, ethical brand, look out or search for other ethical brands, sustainable brands with similar ethos and values to yours, and approach them for a giveaway campaign. Now, I would do it not just on social media, but I would encourage people to enter through a website as well. So all participants have this kind of campaign on their own websites. So we want to reach as many people and really grab as many people. So that's one of the easiest collaborations you can do.
So let me just recap. So you're saying that do a giveaway. So a giveaway is a form of collaboration for you. Yes. Okay, yes. So organize a giveaway with similar brands, because then you're attracting the right target audience. Hence, you shouldn't have too much of a difference in price points, and drive them also not just to the social media channel, but also to the website, because presumably you can then capture that data through some of the Facebook pixels and things like that.
Yes, but it's also about collecting email addresses and really building email lists. So then you can specifically create customer journeys for people who who entered the giveaway. So what you want to do is warm them up to your brand over several email marketing campaigns or months,
Right.
and so on. But really, it's about increasing your reach, increasing exposure, visibility, and also increasing your mailing list, and really upping up the game in terms of email marketing afterwards. So we don't just finish with the giveaway and one winner wins this. It's more about, oh, we got so many new subscribers. How can we now convert them into customers? What kind of journeys we can create, and start the communication from then on.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned 2 quick ideas for collaborations. What's the second?
The other idea is so we just gave a quick example of direct to consumer model. If you have wholesale, the first collaboration I would do is approach my stockists and do collaborations with them. So it can be an open day, or nowadays it's not called open day anymore, but it could be like an event day. Okay. So if you're selling shoes, speak to your stockist and say, on Saturday we'll be doing demonstrations, styling sessions, and also telling the story of the shoe design, of the benefits, and just having a nice day with little nibbles and champagne, and having this kind of event. And then it depends on your network. You can target different locations throughout the year. So you can be in the first quarter up north of the country, and then each quarter you go and visit each, other corners of the country or areas. And really the benefit to you is not just telling the story and putting across the values you have as a business or brand. Also, it reinforces the relationship you have with your stockist, and you also get a chance to speak to their customer. So that will give you insight and data, which you can take back and analyze it, and then put it back into your communication and marketing as a brand. Mm-hmm. So there's lots of benefits you can draw from once you start implementing these kind of collaborations.
Do you think that idea can be also applied to brands who don't have currently wholesale but would like to get into the wholesale game? Could they approach retailers with the offer of so-called trunk show or meet the designer kind of day, split the profits from any sales, and test the water and the interest?
Yes, because there's no risk on the other side. You obviously, from your part, there's a little bit of an investment because you would have to go and travel. And really, you don't know whether they take you on board or not. But this is part of marketing anyway, so it should be drawn from your marketing budgets. And that's the way you have to approach it if you don't have the retailer on board yet. But definitely, I would ask them and pitch to them the idea for the event, and see how it goes afterwards, and maybe leave some samples or something where you continue in that relationship and see where that take you.
Do you think that retailers these days would be more open to such, let's say, cold calling type of approach?
I think retailers are used to it. Yes, I used to turn up. I've never been turned away. So I don't know.
Turn up and pitch your collection and brand, yes, but like organizing a one-off event without the promise of stocking or...
Oh yeah, it depends who it is. So I would first do a thorough research on them and see whether they've done any activities before, for example, workshops or evenings or styling or anything like that, because if they didn't, they probably not going to buy into the idea, because you have to be creative and innovative to actually see the potential.
Mhm.
So I would start with the stockists who are more active and proactive, and you can see that through social media feeds or newsletters and so on. Sometimes they have even page on their website. So to me, that's a good sign, because they have done some of these activities before, they've got the experience, and they probably see the potential. So yes, that would be my first.
What about collaborating, taking that idea and doing the same type of event, but let's say with hotels or furniture shops, interior designers or something? Do you think that can also work?
It can work, but it might be harder to sell.
Okay.
So again, it would be about approaching it from their perspective and really explaining to them that you do understand who their customer base is, and this would add another value to an experience to them.
Yeah.
So it's not about, oh yeah, I want to come here and do this experience for your customers and then basically show you how to sell my product. It's more about what value I can add to their customer.
So you have to cover the base of what's in it for me from their side, basically.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, that's how you start.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you and I have teamed up together again this year, and we are doing a strategic growth day at the end of January, where it's a 1 to 2 day event where we are working with small brands and kind of teaching them some strategic growth strategies so that they can thrive this year, right?
Yes.
So there's a lot more that in collaborations you will give a masterclass, and there's a lot more in depth you can go into this.
Yes, so the masterclass basically covers everything from coming up with the idea to initially pitching the idea and then executing it, and what goes in between, what involves, what's involved in that process. So that's only one part of the day, isn't it? Because we have more in-depth sessions on how to create a strategy, how to understand the market, and how to reposition yourself if needed for this year.
Yeah, so it looks like this year it's about, I mean, I've already been talking to my community, but I think it's about survival. But we are now adding the second layer of repositioning, the need to potentially reposition simply because you will be tinkering with your prices.
Yes, exactly. Right. It's not just about the prices, but also the messaging, isn't it? Because everything is linked together. So everybody will be increasing prices, and then it's about where do we sit within that and how do we communicate our brand and our messaging and our story. And then how do we speak to the right customer, not just everybody, not just our audience on social media, but how do we tap into emotion, the emotional side of things, and the emotional messaging to really trigger response from the right customer.
Yeah. Yes, because with all the different algorithms across social media, engagement and reach is at an all-time low, I think. I might be wrong, but that's what I'm saying.
Yes, everybody can feel it, but what I see is that there is a difference between audience and the right customer, because not everybody in the audience is the customer at all.
Yeah.
It's just a fan, it can be some admirer, but those people don't bring the money in the business. They don't buy, they don't purchase, they just there to get inspiration. And so we really have to drill down and understand who the right customer is. So we start signaling and communicating verbally and non-verbally the messages that really resonate with those right customers.
Yeah.
Because we know that when we tap into that kind of customer base, they will respond, they buy, and then it's about building relationships with them rather than leaving them alone. And it's like, oh yeah, another sale, and now we have to get another customer. So it's about strategies we can implement internally. Some can be automated, so we just do the work once, and then we review it on regular basis, and really having that strategy for the whole year map out, so we know exactly what we're doing, and we know who we're speaking to, where the money come from, different revenue channels and different opportunities.
Yeah. Okay, well, I don't know about anyone else, but I'm excited for this strategic growth day that we've put together. I'm happy to be part of it.
Well, me too. We see loads of small independent brands, especially creative founders who, are the face of the brand, the leaders. Yeah. That we do see that there are opportunities which they're missing out on.
Yeah.
And it can be quite expensive or costly to the business if you don't take those opportunities.
Especially this year with everything going on.
Exactly. So that's why we're doing the day.
Yeah. So I'll put the link to the event in the show notes for everyone to check it out and get their own ticket. It's only a small charge for attendance. It's not free, but it's not expensive to attend. And what else? I think that's it. I mean, I think it's an interesting year ahead of us.
Yes, definitely. But it's exciting. You have to see things positively. Yeah. And there are going to be some success stories, but those success stories will be prepared. And that's what we're trying to do, don't we? We're trying to open your eyes through the day. We will discuss some of the threats and some of the opportunities and some of the systems you can implement. So you almost like prepare your business for what's to come. Obviously, we can't guarantee it, but what we do help you with is get everything set up, create the roadmap, and then it's up to you to start executing it.
Well, as I heard someone, my favorite saying at the moment is that it works if you work it.
Yes, exactly.
I heard someone said the other day, or someone told me that, and I thought, oh my God, yes, this is what this is the mantra to repeat. It works if you work it.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to understanding, isn't it? If you understand the market, if you understand what kind of changes in behavior there's going to be, if you understand what you need to do in your business for you to survive and sometimes even thrive or have that success story, then it's going to be a much easier process than what we see sometimes is that the founders are so buried into the day-to-day that they lose track. They basically, fall asleep at the wheel. And that's what we don't want small businesses to do, because, they are important to our economy. So we try to help them to, to survive and have that radar on.
Yeah. Completely. Okay, well, let's wrap up. Thank you so much for this. Any parting words of advice?
Oh, you just thrown it at me. Advice, attend the strategic growth day, because we have 4 sessions, 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, plus the bonus on the following day, and you will leave with loads of ideas, clarity, and we hopefully give you that thought-provoking trigger which will help you in your business.
Amazing. Well, on that note, thank you so much, and I will see you again soon.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm always happy to chat to you, so thank you.
Hey, thank you for tuning into the show and listening all the way to the end. If you want to know more about any information referred to in this episode, we've got all the links listed in the show notes, which you can find over at www.fashioninsiders.co/podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and conversation, make sure to subscribe to the show and get new episodes downloaded as soon as they come out. And if you have any questions, I'd love to help you. Email me your questions to insider@fashioninsiders.co or just send me a DM over on Instagram. Finally, I'd really appreciate it if you could open up the app on your phone and leave me a super quick rating or review. Your reviews tell iTunes that this is a great podcast and it's worthwhile listening and sharing. And that can help me and my guests reach even more people. So that's it for today. I'll be back soon with another episode. And until then, thank you again for listening.